Ooh, YouTube! I'm back, boy. I know you guys love to see this face around town, bro. Today, bro, got a scary video on the list, man. We got disturbing last scene footage of murder victims. And I know. Before you guys start coming at me, bro, which no one's gonna start coming at me because I have 40 subscribers. But I haven't been here in like 7, 8 months, bro. But we graduated high school. We all done with that bullshit. Was on the verge of not graduating high school, but I got it done and everything. So we had like the end of summer and shit. So yeah, you know what I mean. But let's get into this video because I know you guys don't want to hear me talk. Because I was watching my other videos because I was just like rewatching them, and like I was just yapping the whole time, bro. And I'm yapping right now, but I'm not gonna yap like throughout the whole video like how I did before. I would just talk about bullshit. No one gives a fuck about the bullshit I gotta talk about. Let's go.
She had just graduated from high school 9 days earlier and wanted to buy a 6-month anniversary present for her boyfriend, John. However, what was meant to be a quick, uneventful shopping trip instead turned into a tragedy. Though nothing seemed out of place at first. Kelsey left her home in Overland Park, Kansas at around 6:30 p.m. and reached the Target near Oak Park Mall without any trouble about 30 minutes later. She even called her mother shortly after arriving at the store to ask where she could find gift boxes. Unfortunately, this was the last conversation anyone ever had with her. Her family grew concerned when more than an hour passed and she still hadn't returned home. There was no message from her about some unexpected delay, and her phone was going straight to voicemail.
Hi guys, it's Kelsey. Obviously, I can't come to the phone right now. Leave me a message. Bye.
Kelsey was the kind of person who would call her parents even if she was just a few minutes late, so for her to disappear like this was highly unusual. Around the same time, John also showed up at Kelsey's house to pick her up for their date. Unfortunately, he didn't know anything about her whereabouts either. Fearing the worst, her family filed a missing person report. Meanwhile, her sister and John started looking for her around town, desperately hoping that she was just stranded somewhere due to something minor like car trouble. And while they finally found a lead, it raised more questions than it answered. They were searching the area surrounding the Target when they spotted her car parked outside the Macy's on the opposite side of the Oak Park Mall about half a mile from her last known location. This was already strange enough on its own. However, the most concerning part was the condition they found it in. It was fully unlocked, and the only thing missing from it besides Kelsey herself was her phone. All of her belongings, including her purse and the gift she bought for John hours earlier, were still in the car. Which begged the question, what could have possibly caused her to abandon her car in this state? Fortunately, Macy's had a CCTV camera pointed at the parking lot, allowing investigators to acquire the footage and analyze it for potential clues. However, nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to uncover. CCTV footage showed the car pull into the lot at 9:17 p.m., over 2 hours after Kelsey was last heard from. However, instead of Kelsey, an unknown man wearing a white t-shirt got out of the driver's side door and quickly fled the scene. Unfortunately, the footage was too blurry to see any identifying features besides his clothes. What investigators didn't know at the time was the color of his shirt would prove crucial in this investigation. But for now, the focus was on finding Kelsey before it was too late. The next step in their investigation was to analyze the last known footage of Kelsey shopping at the Target. Unfortunately, this footage didn't show anything unusual, at least at first glance. Target's surveillance system had captured her entire shopping trip. Everything from entering the building, to calling her mother, buying the gift, and then leaving in her car. However, while doing a frame-by-frame analysis, one of the detectives noticed a tiny anomaly near the end of the footage. As she was about to get in her car, the camera captured what looked like a man in a white t-shirt running toward her at the last second. There was a strong chance that this was...
Alright, I don't see jack fucking shit in this fucking camera. What the fuck? How can you tell a man in the white shirt? If someone showed you this and told me there was a man in a white shirt, I can't. Where? Bitch, where?
The same man who would later abandon her car
you can't see shit
hours later. With this newfound knowledge, investigators watched the footage again.
If someone were to tell you, yo, there's a man in a white shirt in that fucking thing, you guys would not be able to see that shit. As Kelsey was browsing through the store, a man in a white t-shirt could be seen stalking her through every aisle. He kept following her until she was about to pay. Oh shit, that boy is stalking her?
Stalking her through every aisle. He kept
See, now this camera footage is a little bit better, but the last one, I don't know what the fuck they were trying to show us.
Her, likely so he could ambush her as she was getting in her car. Fortunately, the entrance camera managed to capture the only somewhat usable image of his face, allowing investigators to set up a tip line for anyone who knew him. Another camera also captured the make and model of his truck when he arrived at the store minutes earlier. This narrowed down the search considerably.
Oh, that shit helps.
All they needed now was information on who this man was. And after sifting through hundreds of false reports, investigators finally received a tip from someone claiming to be his neighbor. They recognized his face and truck on TV and immediately called the police. Not long after, officers arrested 26-year-old Edwin Hall at his home. He was getting ready to leave the state for a supposed...
Look at this guy's fucking face and tell me he doesn't look like he would do some bullshit like this, like kidnap a bitch or something. Like, you're telling me if you didn't, like, if I saw this dude outside, I would be like, stay the fuck away from him. If I saw this guy in a Target following me down every fucking aisle, stay the fuck away from him. Low-key, I feel like it'd be reasonable to fucking call the police on this dude just for looking this fucking suspicious. Like, this guy just looks like he would fucking rape someone. Or, I don't know if I could say that word, but do something to someone.
Vacation with his wife and kids. Fortunately, officers were able to reach him before he fled. Though, to their surprise, Edwin confessed to being at the location without any pushback, and even confirmed that he was the one in the CCTV footage. But he also denied having anything to do with Kelsey.
So if he didn't have anything to do with this murder, I am totally fucking sorry, but you're just a creepy looking guy.
Luckily, his lie did not last long. Investigators had actually found a single unknown fingerprint on the seatbelt latch of Kelsey's car when searching through it earlier. However, it didn't match any print they had on record. But with Edwin's arrest, they were able to take his fingerprints, which turned out to be a perfect match for the one found in Kelsey's car.
Never mind.
The same day, police also found Kelsey's remains near a lake in Missouri, about 20 miles from the target. None of which would have been possible if Kelsey's last shopping trip hadn't been captured by Target's surveillance system.
Bro, I feel like, I don't know, like, Missouri, there's just so much weird shit that goes on over there, bro. Like, because I've been going to St. Louis a lot. Like, St. Louis, Missouri, and of course, like, it's like one of the highest murder rates in the country, or like in the world, damn near. But, like, I don't know, bro, there's just so much weird shit that goes on over there, bro. Like, there's so many pedophiles, there's so many fucking kidnappers, there's so many fucking this, that. Like in Florida, bro, like, there's a lot of that shit, but it's just, like, mainly, like less weirdo shit, bro. Like, I don't know.
Edwin was charged with the kidnapping and murder of Kelsey Smith and stood trial in July 2008. He pled guilty to all charges to avoid the death penalty and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On the night of
Valentine's... that's a crazy-ass story, though. That guy got fucking... Bro. R.I.P. to that girl, bro. I feel bad.
Wednesday, 2017, a home security camera installed outside the house of 35-year-old Ellie Tran showed her returning home from work and pulling into the driveway, unaware that a dangerous stalker was hiding just outside the camera's view, waiting for the right opportunity to attack.
What is that?
As soon as she got out of the car, the stalker lunged at her from behind the bushes and tackled her to the ground before running away on foot just seconds later. And while Ellie looked mostly unharmed at first, the attacker had actually injected her with a cyanide-filled syringe while she was on the ground. Which, for those who don't know, is one of the...
Oh, hell no. Bro, if I am getting out of my car to go back inside my crib, and someone runs at me, tackles me, and fucking injects a needle in my fucking body, are we serious right now? Oh, hell no. I promise you I am causing all hell... Bro, hell is breaking loose, bro. I'm doing whatever it takes to fucking... unalive that person, dude.
Deadliest poisons on Earth. What made this situation even worse
they injected
was the fact
cyanide.
That this wasn't a crazed stalker or a random serial killer. Instead, this was 30-year-old Joseph Merlino III.
Again, you're telling me if you see this guy out in public, you're not going to be fucking suspicious looking at this guy. That's what I'm telling you, bro. People say don't judge a book by its cover. I don't give a fuck. I judge every book by its cover. If you see this fucking guy, you are telling me he does not look like he's going to do something bad, wrong, like, I don't know, just something, bro. He just looks like he's up to something bad, bro. Like, I just feel like it's, like, 1, he's either going to kidnap me. 2, he's either going to rob me. Or 3, he's going to inject me with fucking cyanide. Some shit. I don't know what the fuck. This guy's a freak, bro.
Ex-boyfriend and someone she had a 2-year-old
That's what I'm telling you, bro. Like, we should be able to call the police on people that just look like this, bro. Like, realistically, that just look like fucking... they got something up their sleeve.
Sometime in late 2013, and things started off quite well.
It's reasonable
However,
cause.
Joseph started becoming aggressive when Ellie became pregnant and invited her parents to live with her. You see, Ellie had actually immigrated to the US from Vietnam before meeting Joseph. She wanted to build a stable life in the U.S. with Joseph and their child, but she also wanted her parents to be a part of this new life. So in 2014,
why
she
do
flew
that
her
to
parents to
like
the
fucking
U.S.
like
and gave them a
females
place
that
at
have
her and Joseph's
like
home.
I don't know,
This
bro.
became a major
Like, she
point
looked
of
like such a
contention
nice
between the
person,
couple.
didn't do
Joseph
nothing wrong in
becoming
her
more and
life,
more
and you
aggressive
fucking
with each
inject
passing
her with
day.
cyanide.
Things escalated to the point of physical
All because
violence
she didn't
by
want your fucking ugly ass,
mid-2016,
probably.
forcing Ellie to break up with Joseph and get a restraining order against him. She also kept full custody of their daughter. However, Ellie knew that Joseph wasn't going to leave her alone so easily. She lived in constant fear that he would one day show up and take their daughter from her, which was the only reason she installed security cameras both inside and outside her home. But even Ellie couldn't have predicted
that is horrible, bro. Imagine your last moments on Earth is you getting out of your whip, going back inside your cozy home that you feel safe in with your daughter, this, that, and a fucking man tackles you and injects you with a fucking needle, bro. With cyanide. Bro, so
Joseph
fucking that's just horrible, bro.
Immediately after the attack on February 14th,
that's why you gotta
Ellie
keep a
tried
gun
to get
on you at all
inside
times,
and call 911. She didn't know exactly what had happened, but she knew he had injected something into her leg. But she
even though regardless you're probably gonna die, yeah.
Luckily, her mother saw everything, including Joseph's face as he was running away. She called emergency services and Ellie was rushed to a nearby hospital. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Cyanide prevents cells from using oxygen, which is needed to keep them alive. The cells can no longer produce energy, and vital organs like the heart and brain start failing.
How the fuck do you even get your hands on cyanide?
Of internal suffocation, even if the person is breathing. By the time Ellie reached the hospital, she had already suffered severe brain damage.
Only weirdos like that would
pronounced
fucking
brain
get
dead shortly
cyanide.
Afterward, forcing her parents to make the painful decision of
because I know damn well you can't just buy that shit from a
home
fucking
security
corner
footage alongside the statement from Ellie's mother allowed investigators to zero in on Joseph and arrest him just 3 days later on February 17. They also searched his home and found several other dangerous items like guns and materials for making explosives. However, despite the
like I said, this guy is a top tier fucking school threat, bro. They found fucking shit to make bombs and what else?
Other dangerous items like guns and materials for making explosives.
Bro, guns and materials
despite the evidence,
to make explosives.
Joseph tried to claim that he was in a different city on the night of the murder, and that the person in the home security footage was.
Oh, and then he tries to make up an excuse. Oh, I was in a different city when that happened. Like, what the fuck do you have a bunch of explosives? Like, all right, then explain the fact why you have a bunch of explosives and shit in your fucking house. You fucking weirdo. Explain that fact. God, dude, people are retarded.
The prosecution
I don't want to say the R word, but
phone records proved that his statement about being in a different city was a complete lie. More importantly, prosecutors were able to prove that the murder was fully premeditated. Forensic analysis of his internet traffic revealed that leading up to the crime, he had searched terms like, how many milligrams of cyanide will kill you? What if cyanide gets in the bloodstream? And what if cyanide gets injected? Investigators were also able to track down the people he purchased cyanide and the syringe from on marketplaces like eBay and Etsy. However, the most damning evidence proving his sinister motives came from an incident that happened back in December 2016. According to Ellie's mother, Ellie was coming home from work one day when suddenly a man approached her and threw an unknown chemical on her. Thankfully, the chemical only burned her hair.
Bro, so you're telling me before this injection happened, you threw fucking what in her fucking face?
A man approached her and threw an unknown chemical on her. Thankfully, the chemical only burned her hair and caused minor burns on her scalp, allowing her to recover without any permanent injury.
So you threw fucking like acid or some shit on her and then ran away. And like I don't know how the fuck you didn't get caught then, dude.
Ellie later told her mother that she believed the attacker was Joseph. This showed that Joseph was coming up with ways of harming Ellie even before the lethal attack. Joseph, however, stayed adamant that he was innocent and even went on a hunger strike for a few months before his trial. Prosecutors believe he did this to lose a lot of weight and look significantly different from how he looked in the security camera footage, possibly hoping to trick the jury into handing out an innocent verdict. Unfortunately for him, this plan failed as well. He stood trial in December 2018 and was sentenced to life in prison.
Dahmer, piece of shit. Good lord.
On the 12th of May 2022, a government inspector was doing a land survey in the wooded area surrounding the National Guard Armory in Wadesboro, North Carolina. But partway through the survey, the inspector discovered the last thing he was expecting behind the armory, a complete human skeleton. The only other items nearby were a black top and a pair of women's leggings, indicating that this skeleton likely belonged to a woman. Further inspection of the remains also confirmed that she had likely passed away somewhere between 9 months and a year ago. Now, this was a major discovery,
bro, like,
especially...
That's crazy, bro. Like, people deadass be getting away with murders. Like, imagine killing someone, right? And then fucking... Like, you're expecting to go to jail and shit, like, this, that, yada, yada, and then you get away for fucking 9 months to a year that lady's been dead for, and you got away with that shit. Like, they just live, like, someone kills someone and just lives their life normally. Like, that's fucking insane.
Because it happened in a not-so-secluded area near a government building and a high school.
It's
there was also a strong chance that this person either got lost in the woods or was placed there by someone trying to hide their crime. Either way, it would have been best to make the finding public and enlist the public's help in identifying the person. But for unknown reasons, the Wadesboro Police Department did not report it publicly. It wasn't until January 2024 that this case received its first major update. Someone from the Wadesboro area came forward with disturbing images their trail camera had captured back on August 21, 2021, close to the armory. They showed a woman, possibly in her mid to late 30s, walking alone in the forest very early in the morning. She was barefoot and was struggling to walk while using a stick for support. Her leggings and support stick were also wet up to her knees, suggesting she might have walked through the creek just south of the trail cam. More importantly, she was wearing the same top and leggings the surveyor would find alongside the skeletal remains about 9 months later. However, while the trail cam footage gave a face to the remains, investigators were still no closer to identifying her. She didn't match any missing person reports in the area, leaving investigators with no clear leads to follow. With no other option, authorities uploaded the trail cam images alongside any information they had on the National Missing Persons database, which turned out to be the correct move. Not long after the case gained traction online, the woman was identified as Amber Ray Johnston, who was 36 years old when she went missing back in August 2021. This trail cam footage was the last time she was seen alive. Her mother recognized her after coming across the images online. A DNA test in March 2025 also confirmed that the skeletal remains belonged to her daughter, Amber. The only question that remained now was what happened to Amber? How did she end up in Wadesboro, North Carolina, over 2,200 miles from her home in Bullhead City, Arizona? Unfortunately, the answer to this question would turn out to be far more complex than the investigators might have expected. Amber's story began
2,200 miles. Do you guys understand how far that is? Like, I'm pretty sure, like, when I would drive to St. Louis, like, when I was, like, legit, I think it was, like, 1,800 miles, I think they said it was, like, 1,000-something miles, and that shit was, like, 21 hours. It was, like, a 20-hour drive, bro. Do you know how fucking far 2,000 miles is, bro?
Bullhead City, Arizona, where she was in an emotionally and physically abusive relationship with her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Jarrett Ward. Both Jarrett and Amber also had a severe substance abuse problem, which only made their relationship worse. They eventually broke up in the summer of 2021, and Jarrett went back to his hometown in South Carolina. During this time, authorities had their first strange encounter with Amber. On the 8th of August, at around 8 a.m., she apparently went swimming with someone she had just met. He stayed behind on the water's edge while Amber dove in, leaving her ID and clothes behind in his care. He went back to get a life jacket for himself, but when he returned, Amber was nowhere to be seen. Assuming that she might have drowned, he contacted the police, who began a search and rescue mission immediately. However, just hours into the search, police received a call from Amber's landlady stating that she returned home safe. Then, in mid-August, she got on a Greyhound bus and started traveling east. It's unclear if she was going back to her mother's place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or if she was planning on visiting Jarrett in South Carolina. However, she didn't reach either of these destinations. Witnesses saw her purchasing a bus ticket in Winston-Salem, North Carolina on August 17, 2021. And that was the last time Amber was ever seen alive. The last ping from her phone came from Charlotte on August 19, 2021. 3 days after that, she was captured by the trail camera in Wadesboro, over 90 miles from Winston-Salem, before disappearing completely until her remains were discovered 9 months later. However, how she reached Wadesboro or why she went there in the first place remains a mystery to this day. The most puzzling part of her case is that authorities still haven't considered any foul play in her disappearance and death, even though there are countless signs strongly pointing towards that possibility. The biggest of which are SNAP food stamps and countless signs strongly pointing towards that possibility. The biggest of which are SNAP food stamps and credit card, both of which were used by other people, including Jarrett after her supposed death. She had actually told her mother about Jarrett stealing her credit card to purchase drugs in the past. So, him somehow getting a hold of it and using it for online purchases after her death should have made him the #1 suspect. Unfortunately, Jarrett passed away himself.
Holy goodness gracious, look at this guy. Aren't we? See, you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Like, we're starting to see a chain of just, like, a chain reaction. The first guy looked creepy, fucking suspicious as fuck. Second guy looked really suspicious. Now tell me this guy, bro. Look at this guy. You could tell he's high off meth, fentanyl, fucking coke, fucking ketamine, fucking everything in one, bro. I could just tell this guy's off a whole bunch of shit. He has a lot of demons, and I don't even want to go into all that. Just watch the fucking video.
In 2022, leaving investigators with no lead.
God, dude, that guy looks like a fucking mess, bro. If I ever end up like that, bro.
Video that was posted to her Facebook account on August 18, showing the bus traveling through Birmingham, Alabama, even though phone records showed that she was in Charlotte, North Carolina the next day. It's possible someone else posted.
I feel so bad. I'm not saying, I don't want to say, like, I feel bad with people with drug addictions, bro. Like, I have family with drug addiction, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but it's like, bro, come on, dude.
Travel
you have a drug addiction and you're doing weird shit like this, bro. It's like,
why, there's no way for us to confirm or deny that theory.
Drugs, bro.
It also makes little to no sense for Amber to get lost and lose her life in a patch of woods that's surrounded by a government building, a high school, a hospital, and several restaurants and convenience stores, all within walking distance. Lastly, her lack of proper clothing and use of a walking stick in the trail cam footage also points to something far more sinister than her just getting lost in the woods. Unfortunately, with the primary suspect now passed away himself, the truth of what happened to Amber in August 2021 will likely never come out. On the morning of January 25, 2019, Elizabeth Barraza, known to her friends as just Liz, woke up early to set up a garage sale outside her suburban home in Tomball, Texas. She lived there with her husband, Sergio, and the two had been happily married for nearly 5 years. Their 5th anniversary was also just a few days away, and they had planned to spend the occasion visiting Universal and Disney parks in Florida. They were both massive fans of franchises like Harry Potter and Star Wars, so this was the perfect plan for their special day. Tragically, Liz never lived to see this day she had been looking forward to. As she was setting up the garage sale, security cameras from around the neighborhood captured a black truck driving in and parking a few lots down from Liz's house. The driver of this truck then got out, approached Liz in her driveway, and started talking to her about something at around 6:58 a.m. Her doorbell camera recorded her saying good morning to this person in a way that made it seem like she didn't know who they were.
My bad for playing
then, just a few seconds later, unprompted, the person took out a firearm and opened fire, shooting Liz 4 different times before running back to their truck.
Whoa! So there were some guy walked up to them, they were talking, and then he just shoots them 4 times? What the fuck could have been said there? What kind of argument happened?
And opened fire, shooting Liz 4 different times before running back to their truck and driving away. 3 different neighbors called 911 seconds after hearing the gunshots. First responders arrived just a few minutes later and rushed Liz to a nearby hospital.
Damn, dude, that's sad.
Unfortunately, the damage was too severe, resulting in her passing away
shortly after
what
happened.
Arriving. The video footage captured the whole incident, but it wasn't clear enough to pick up any identifying features. However, as the investigation went on, the biggest issue that confused the authorities was the complete lack of a logical motive. First of all, this wasn't a robbery or something along those lines. The killer didn't take anything and just ran off after committing the crime. More importantly, the way they made sure to shoot her one more time after she had already fallen to the ground made it seem like this was a deliberate hit, almost as if someone had sent a hitman after her. However, investigators couldn't find any reason why someone would do that. Everyone who knew Liz described her as the brightest person they knew. She wanted nothing more than to see others happy and even spent her free time cosplaying as a stormtrooper and visiting children's hospitals to cheer them up. Security footage from around the neighborhood also showed the killer driving around her home and staying in nearby parking lots hours before the crime. The timing of the crime was also quite suspicious. It happened just 4 minutes after Sergio had left for work. Whoever the killer was, they knew the couple's schedules. Liz had also not told anyone about the garage sale beforehand, so there was no way for some random person to know that she would be alone outside at that time. This precise timing pretty much ruled out the possibility of a serial killer taking advantage of the opportunity, bringing authorities back to square one. The only possible lead they had was her husband, Sergio, and for a good reason.
That guy, bro.
Spouses are often involved in these types of murders, especially when infidelity is involved. Putting Sergio as the mastermind could also explain how the killer knew about the garage sale and the exact time Sergio would leave for work. However, after thorough investigation, the police found no evidence of Sergio's involvement. Their marriage was simply too perfect and problem-free for him to have any reason to take her life, leaving the mystery of Elizabeth Barraza's death completely unsolved to this day. February 2021 started off as a particularly cold month for the residents of the small town of Plains Township, Pennsylvania. A blizzard the night before had deposited over 30 inches of snow across the region, forcing most of its residents to shovel snow from their driveways if they wanted to get their cars out. However, for a local couple, 50-year-old James Goy and 48-year-old Lisa Goy, this simple activity proved lethal when they got into an argument with their neighbor across the street named Jeffrey Spain.
I don't think I have to say much. Just look at this fucking guy's face, bro. Let's guess what he did to this fucking
The fight had started with Jeffrey accusing the couple of dumping snow too close to his house. A home security camera outside James and Lisa's home
dumping snow too close to his fucking house. What is your house surrounded by right now, dude? Thank God, bro.
Argument as it escalated, with both groups hurling increasingly demeaning insults and curses at each other.
Kills him over fucking snow.
Jeffrey threatened the couple's lives before returning to his home. Normally, this would have been where the argument ended. However, Jeffrey had something much more drastic in mind. Seconds later, he came back with a firearm and opened fire, hitting the couple multiple times. He kept shooting until he ran out of ammunition. But after seeing that both James and Lisa were still alive, he went back inside and returned with a different firearm and took their lives at point-blank range. By the time first responders arrived at the scene, both Lisa and James had already passed away.
Nah, bro.
But that wasn't all.
Shit,
Police entered Jeffrey's home to arrest him for his crime. However, Jeffrey, understanding the drastic, irreversible decision he had just made, likely didn't want to spend the rest of his life behind bars. So, after ending James and Lisa, he ended everything for himself as well, ending the investigation before it even began. On the morning of February 12, 1993,
just don't do any of that bullshit.
Visiting the New Strand Shopping Center in Bootle, England, with her 2-year-old son, James. At one point during shopping, she let go of James's hand for a split second to pay. But when she looked back, James had vanished without making a sound. In a panic, she immediately began looking for him, hoping that he was just wandering around the shopping center. However, James was nowhere to be found. She also called the police, who arrived within minutes and started searching for James in the streets surrounding the area. Over the next 2 days, more than 100 officers searched the streets of Bootle, while helicopter teams searched across the canal. Unfortunately, despite their combined efforts, they didn't find a single clue that could lead them to James. However, what looked like a simple missing child case at first would turn out to be one of the most disturbing crimes of the 20th century. The truth came out on February 14th when a group of young boys discovered James's remains on a railway track 2.5 miles from the shopping center. His body had been sliced in half by a passing train. However, that was only the tip of the iceberg. A later autopsy report revealed that James had a total of 42 injuries across his body, including 10 skull fractures and much more. While the graphic details of James's state are too gruesome for YouTube, they can only be described as an act of pure, inhuman cruelty. Someone had spent a long time inflicting pain on the poor boy before
I've seen this shit before. I've seen this.
However, the most shocking revelation of the case was yet to come. With the discovery of James's remains, the focus then shifted to uncovering and catching the person or persons responsible. Fortunately, the shopping center had CCTV cameras around the facility. And after scouring through the footage, investigators finally found their first solid lead. One of the cameras had captured the culprit taking James out of the shopping center, but it wasn't an adult as most would have suspected. Instead, James was seen being led away by 2 strikingly young boys. Footage from other cameras showed the 2 boys just hanging around the shopping center.
I don't know how to
things like candy, toys, and paint. Then,
like when I was this age, bro, I didn't have no thoughts of like any of this. Like when I was just like a little kid, bro, like not James, but like the fucking
released some of the enhanced footage on TV, resulting in a woman.
Like I was more worried about playing video games and shit. Like what the fuck?
6 days after James's murder, police arrested 10-year-old John Venables and Robert Thompson.
10 years old. Like, are we serious, bro? Like, at this age, I promise you I was playing video games. I was going outside, playing baseball, playing basketball, just having fun with my friends. Like, I didn't even know what fucking fighting was, bro. And you got these kids fucking stealing a kid and torturing him and fucking putting him in front of trains and shit. What the fuck? That deserves a death sentence, bro.
What followed was an extensive 20-hour-long interrogation. The 2 initially tried to deny everything, but after some pressure, John buckled and confessed, stating, "I killed James. I did it. We did it. Will you tell his mom I'm sorry?" Police also interviewed around 38 witnesses who saw James with John and Robert that evening to get a full picture of what happened. John and Robert skipped school on February 12th and went to the shopping center with the express...
Like, I wouldn't even do that part of it, dude. Skipping school. If I were to skip school at that age, I would have a fucking heart attack and piss myself. I would never even think of skipping school. I would never even think of skipping a class, bro. I was such a good kid. And then, actually, I wasn't a good kid. I'm not gonna lie, I was causing chaos when I was 10 years old, but I wasn't causing chaos like this. I was just causing chaos for my teachers. But still, bro, like, how the fuck do you even get that thought in your head, bro? It has to be his
they were
parents at
planning
home.
to take James near a busy road and push him into oncoming traffic.
They wanted to push him into oncoming traffic?
Somewhere between taking him from his mother and going out, their plan took a turn for the worst. They took him to the railway track instead. Once alone, they
If I was that father, bro, I would get arrested. I would get arrested on purpose just to fucking find those kids, bro, and just beat the living shit out of them and kill them.
James to endure the unimaginable until he finally passed away.
I don't forgive
They then
people for
dragged
that
his remains
bullshit.
onto the train tracks to make his death look like an accident before going back home. Because they demonstrated a clear understanding of the wrongness of their crimes, John and Robert faced a full adult trial in November 1993. And the evidence against them was overwhelming. Investigators found drops of James's blood on their clothes, imprints of their shoes on his body, and much, much more, leaving no doubt about their guilt. They were found guilty and became the youngest convicted murderers of the 20th century. Though, despite their adult trial, their sentence was still in line with their age. They were sentenced to indefinite detention with a minimum of 8 years behind bars. After 8 years, in 2001, John Venables was released with a new identity.
No fucking way! There's no way, dude! They got fucking detention center fucking in 8 years minimum in jail. And they got out for killing a fucking innocent ass fucking baby, bro. That's insane. That isn't fucking insane. So that kid's probably, what, 18 years old getting out. He still has the rest of his life to live. Fucking perfectly fine. That's crazy.
To protect him from public retribution. But he has been repeatedly recalled to prison for breaching his parole conditions and was found to still pose a danger to children.
Damn.
Robert Thompson remains free on license and has not been known to reoffend since his initial release.
Damn, he's still a fucking threat to children. That's insane. After all that fucking time, and you're still a fucking threat to children. But hey, I'm gonna see you guys for the next video, man. I'm definitely gonna be posting a lot more. I enjoyed this a lot, actually. This video was really good. And yeah, I'm gonna post this shit. I'm gonna see y'all later.